Welcome to the Nerd Powwow. Follow us on YouTube where we upload new videos every Friday, or check us out on your favorite podcast platform. Spoiler warning, we do deep dives on characters, storylines, and theory crafting. With that said, Wayne, who are we talking about today?
All right, guys, we're going to talk about Cyclops, aka Scott Summers. We're going to deep dive into his life and what we know about him. Go from the early years to, the 90s to X-Men 97, even get him into the movies.
To me, my nerds.
My first thing with Cyclops is some Cyclops writers freaking love Cyclops. Other Cyclops writers, the mopey, pouting, moody. I don't know why some people write him like that, because he's such a badass. He has such cool things about him, and some people just put him all in his feels and make him like emo X-Man, and I hate when they do that. I mean, yeah, he's got a complex history, and the guy's been through a lot, probably more than most of the X-Men. He's been there since inception, so
He's
he's seen a lot of terrible things.
Figure for sure.
Yeah, he's got some PTSD, I'm sure. But I really like when he's badass. I think one of my favorite moments of him is the Astonishing X-Men. I think it was this early in that run when Danger Room was revolting. Excuse me, and she had called in a sentinel, an offline sentinel, and it's like half an old sentinel is crawling through the yard towards the X Mansion, and it's really damaging things. It's blowing holes in the building, hitting the kids and everything else. And Wolverine, Colossus, and Cyclops, and they're all going to address this thing. And so Wolverine's like, hold on, I'll just go dig out its core. And Cyclops is like, no, just get behind me. And he takes his visor fully off, and he's like, I want this thing off my lawn. And he just blows this thing, just smashes it right. And there's a great picture of him standing there, putting his visor back on, and Wolverine's behind him. He's like, every now and then, Summers, I remember while you're in charge. It's just a great scene. It's like a goosebumps scene, because he's standing there with Colossus and Wolverine, two heavy hitters, and he just blows this thing, force punches it right off the frickin' yard, and it's just good. I really love that moment. So
yeah, that's all, man. You know what? I'll tell you what, I've liked Cyclops for a long time, but he's never been like my number one. I've never been like, yeah, Cyclops is the best. But I'll tell you what, X-Men 97 totally sold me on Cyclops. Like,
right.
The hands down, my favorite Cyclops, I guess two favorite Cyclops moments from that is just him using his optical beams to like dodge in combat. That's just so cool. It's such a cool flair for him. And the way his abilities being utilized there. And then also just like he's falling through the sky and then he uses his optic beams to slow his descent. That was so freaking cool.
That was amazing.
That I was, goosebumps on arms, the whole 9 yards. One thing in looking into Cyclops a little bit more and his character, I think that one of the bigger things with Cyclops that I kind of like is his story is a little bit of a psychological one, in that he has no control over his powers. And so you can see the anxiety in him in trying to gain control of everything else. And in doing that, like, it's made him like a master tactician. Like, he has a plan for everything. He's a little bit like Captain America in that way, it seems. That he's just very adept at dealing with, the shit that happens. So that's something I do like about Cyclops a lot, is that, it makes sense that he's a leader. He's always just hyper vigilant because of, his experiences with his powers.
Yeah, he's He's quick to grab control, quick to do that, and he's never frozen up. He never freezes up. You never see him frozen. Nobody knows what to do. Scott's calling it out.
Yep.
Yeah, for the longest time, he thought his parents were dead from that plane crash. Then he goes into foster care, and then he's in love with Jean Grey, who then all of a sudden now he's with Madeline Pryor, who has Nathan Summers, and that poor guy has seen Jean Grey die so many times. Then he married the wrong woman, who's still in love with the wrong woman. So he's now got two redheads he's in love with.
And that's dangerous to begin with.
Yeah, no kidding. So that poor guy, and then I mean, we even see the evil side of him. He killed Xavier at one point. Age of Apocalypse, he used his rays to chop off Wolverine's hand. Yep. So we've seen him as a bad guy too. But you're right. Even he's very meticulous. He's a born leader. And good or bad, he's going to lead.
Yeah,
it's true. And the Age of Apocalypse is kind of interesting because I had a lot of a lot of writers try to make his blasts laser beams. And they're not. Right. It's pure concussive force.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I've heard it described as like a punch dimension that's inside of his eyes that he can open up and spray at people.
Right,
yeah, that's it's
just a big punch from his eyeballs.
His beams come from a different dimension, is what it's said, and the only reason it's not more powerful is because they have to come through eye holes to come out of that dimension.
Exactly, and you were talking about his family problems too. Don't forget he had a brother who Xavier mind erased him that he didn't have because he was part of the second wave of X-Men to save him from Krakoa, and they got wiped out. So he just we don't need to remember those guys. But Xavier, don't get me started. But
it's like
Nito was right.
But there was a neat description on how he was able to remove Wolverine's hand in Age of Apocalypse because it doesn't make sense. It's been shown before that he cannot damage an adamantium, but then somebody had a good idea is that he when he shot the hand, because he's also in Age of Apocalypse, Cyclops only actually has one physical eye. He has 3 scars across his face where Wolverine had cut his face and blinded him one of the eyes, but the concussive force blew apart every bit of soft tissue from the wrist up. And so there's no soft tissue to hold the adamantium together. So it just falls off. The bones aren't damaged, but there's nothing you have to have all the squishy parts holding your bones together. You don't have that. It does. And that's why his claws survived, because you see that his claws survived. Now, Wolverine says his claws survived because they were retracted, but that doesn't really make sense with the slashing of Scott's face unless it happened at 2 different times.
Oh, that's true.
But it would make much better canonical sense if he was slashing it because the connection for the claws is up in the arm more. They just happen to come through the hand.
Yeah.
So if he blew the hand apart, the claws would still be there cutting, but the hand is gone. So somebody, not me, somebody else, I don't know who it was, but some Redditor, I was going down a rabbit hole one time, some Redditor came up with that, and it was a much better explanation than they even had it in the comics. So it was good, but yeah, Scott, I mean, he could turn a lot of people into jelly. It's just they don't care what their exterior is. It's that punch is everything.
And even at one point, the Shi'ar actually made his blast more powerful. With Shi'ar technology.
And it's one of my. I love that he has some unsung things about him. I can't remember if it was a name for his trick shot or not. But you ever see he do his trick shot where he shoots like 15 targets in rapid order? It's like, I mean, he flashes around. It's amazing. I mean, he'll hit like 15 targets in a 10-second span, and because he's doing it at the speed of being able to turn his head, and as soon as he can focus on it, it's like boom, boom. It's impressive. They don't do it enough. It's so good. So, yeah, it's his power set. I think I like his power set more than I like some of the way he's written, because his power set's always amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I know they said Omega level mutants sometimes it's like they're the best at what they do, right? Is Scott Summers like the best energy projectile user, or is there somebody that holds
Yeah.
that crown, or what
Well,
keeps because Scott's not Omega, right? He's
no.
yeah.
That is not Omega. But even Havoc is very powerful himself with
Yeah.
with
And
the energy.
Vulcan.
And Vulcan,
And
yeah.
Vulcan, the brother.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Vulcan can change all energy.
yeah. And it's funny because all three brothers cannot harm each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of a cool thing, and that's atypical to anything else I've seen in the Marvel comics ever. They have these siblings that have this incredible power. But Cyclops, I think what makes something Omega is being able to have more than a localized effect is one thing.
Okay.
Cyclops is always going to have a localized effect. He cannot affect anything on a environmental scale. And I don't know if it's a check mark for Omega level, but I am finding that almost all Omega levels have had some kind of secondary mutation.
Okay. No,
I'm
I
seeing
guess
that.
makes
I'm
sense.
seeing that a lot with the Omega levels. I think that I don't know if they thought that at first or if they're doing that afterwards, almost to justify some of the things that they have made Omega. But yeah, I think that having more than a localized, he's never going to be a guy that takes out. I mean, unless he opens his visor wide, but even then, it would have to be standing in his line of sight. He's not big AOE kind of thing. He's not taking out a small town, maybe with
Right.
Yeah, I mean, unless he's looking around, but you know what I mean. It's like it's
Just
it's
running around
not
in
as
circles,
controlled.
being a real
Yeah.
menace in some city.
Colossus just holds him by his ankles and gives him like a helicopter, and they're just Cyclops is blowing things apart.
Oh man, I would love to see that media where Cyclops has him by the ankles and like there's a bunch of broods like coming in at him or whatever, right? And they're just fighting him off with Cyclops optic blast. That's awesome.
That would be
What an image.
so good.
Or it's like
so
Laser Baby.
Laser Baby.
They're just holding it.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, that's great.
What was that from? Wasn't there something they did that with?
Yeah,
Laser Baby.
They did that with the boys.
Oh, it was the boys. It was
Yep.
the boys. Of course, it was the boys.
Yep, sure
Yeah,
was.
But but that would be. I would love to see the helicopter Cyclops. That's great. But and Cyclops. The reason he can't control his powers like his brothers is actually brain damage from the fall.
Yeah.
Out of the airplane.
Out of the airplane when they were because his parents pushed him out to save him. But that's something else too. Is it's comic books, so you got to look past some things. But after with the reincarnation happening on Krakoa, why would you reincarnate with an injury? Like a brain damage.
That's fair.
Genetically, genetically, I don't know.
Sense.
There's no reason. It doesn't make sense at all. They cured other people with that. They're curing death. So, they're growing him a new body in a pod with brain damage. Like that's a flawed system. Flawed system.
There's just some scientist over there. It's like, you know what? It's his little forming body in the head really quick. We need to keep this up. We can't let this guy have too good of a life.
And I feel like it's lazy because it opened up the door for other things. Say you do cure him. Now you've got this Scott Summers fully able to not wear his goggles. He can do everything. It's great. Then the Krakoa thing ends. They get into some kind of fight, and he gets injured again. Mm-hmm. So he loses it, and it makes it even more tragic. There's such good story to be had there of gaining this fix and then losing it again. Now they're just like, fuck it, just keep it.
It's pretty darn quick too. I mean, he wasn't able to control it very long at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say
maybe a matter of 4 comics or something.
Yeah, so it could have been easy, but well, oh well.
Hey,
missed opportunities.
Yep.
And even with Cyclops' life, I mean, he's got children. Well, Nathan, he had to send to the future. That was the only way Nathan was going to survive.
Yeah.
Well, Cable gets cloned, so now we have Strife. And then also Rachel Summers, who was created in a different alternate universe. So, yeah.
Well, the crazy part is that, but Scott and Jean went to the future and raised Cable.
Cable didn't know it until later, though. So while it was,
he didn't know that Slim and he didn't know.
Slim and Red,
Slim and Red,
yeah.
Well, they didn't know it was them.
Yeah. So I guess
that whole family is just.
They called Cyclops Slim in the first couple issues of X-Men when Cyclops first made his appearance, and then they changed it to Scott Summers and Cyclops. But yeah, they called him Slim for a couple issues.
Yeah,
and they went back to it a couple times, like when him and Jean were kind of hiding out in the carnival. I think they'd lost memory. I'm trying to remember, it's old stuff, but they were in a carnival of, I think it might have been Ringmaster. It might have been who's the other mental guy that controlled Jean for a while. Can't remember his name, but anyway, I think he's kind of a greenish guy. He's got the hood around his face.
I can't remember.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
I actually only knew about Sinister.
Oh yeah, no, this is before Sinister was even around.
Yeah.
Mr. Sinister is probably my most favorite villain. He really is.
You know, the whole genetic aspect of it, I'm like, all right, that's cool. You know, got this little bloodline project and thing going on. You know, I think Magic the Gathering stole that a little bit. With one of their one of their main character stories. There's a character, Gerard Caspian, who is designed by one of these mythological, almost godlike entities that like went through like 1,000 years of generations to make this one hero to try and fight his nemesis. And champion, which kind of reminds me a little bit of Sinister and just like all this eugenic practice and stuff. But this guy's written as a hero, you know, the good guy, because the evil's just such a great evil that, you know, he has to do some pretty unethical things to try and fight against that. So it's interesting, Urza and Gerard, but.
Yeah, X-Men 97, when they brought in Sinister in the third episode, as he was disappearing, he just said, Ladybird, Ladybird. And just as he went into the darkness, I got chills from that. Just such a creepy character, too. And they pulled that off perfectly, introducing him to that series.
Mesmero was the villain. We're talking X-Men 49. This is 1968.
Yeah.
So
it's a little bit before our time.
Yeah, for my time, but which is really saying something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with Mesmero, because Mesmero controlled Jean, he had Jean as like almost like a Purple Girl and or Purple Man and the Defender series on Netflix. What's her name? Strong Girl.
I know who you're talking about.
Jewel was her name as a superhero. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of her name? I've just gone. Fully crazy. Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Almost like Purple Man and Jessica Jones, Mesmero and Jean Grey. That happened very similarly. He was fully in control of her. He had her living with him and everything. It was kind of a creepy thing. He was not a good guy. But
and Mr. Sinister kidnaps her and takes a piece of her, clones her.
Well, yeah. I don't know who's been worse through more or worse when it comes to that, Scott or Jean. Those two just
well, you know, the stuff kept happening to Jean, but the thing is, Cyclops kept losing Jean. So, I don't know, psychologically, I mean, how many times did Cyclops watch her die?
How many times can you go through that grieving process?
Yeah, exactly.
But then how many times is she back and she's right there and you start messing with one of the other ex-girls?
Yeah.
Or worse, one of their enemies. He was with
Emma Frost, right?
Queen Emma Frost for a while, and
You know, for
He even had a little tango with oh my gosh, what is wrong with Psylocke?
Psylocke.
He even had a little tango with Psylocke for a little bit. I'm like, jeez.
You
He
know,
likes those telepaths.
I was gonna say he's got a thing for the mental girls. I'll tell you what.
Yep, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, at least he's got a type.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, my type is telepath.
Yeah.
Dude, I need that on a t-shirt. I just want a picture of just his visor, and across the top it just says, my type is telepath.
My type.
Only the nerds will get it. You actually gotta know. It's like, if you know, you know.
You know, you know.
That's funny. That would have to be under the visor, the IFYK.
But how dumb
That's
though?
hilarious.
Like Jean shows up and Scott's like dealing with Emma Frost. It's like, come on, Scott. Come on. You know what they do. You know the
Right.
thing.
God, I've been gone 2 days.
You're the master tactician, but you can't figure out basic things like this.
No, sorry.
I guess it kind of goes to show, you know, when you're preparing for everything else and every other potential threat or problem and trying to have that level of control, it really shows like the control that kind of slips out from under your nose and whatnot.
Or maybe you could just be a master technician and be able to plan for anything and still be confused by girls.
Yeah. His only weakness.
His only weakness.
It's a big weakness.
Telepaths. Oh, that's great. That's too funny. But yeah.
So
Yeah,
are you guys familiar with Strife? Who cloned him who cloned Strife?
Strife that was a future thing because Strife believe Strife thought he was Cable.
Cable. He sure did. He gallivanted around as Cable.
Was Strife made to destroy Apocalypse? Was that his story or?
See, I can't remember other than him just being a clone.
Yeah.
Because I remember the action figure when I got as a kid. It was Strife, and they advertised it that when you flipped his mask, there was a surprise underneath. So I remember as a kid ripping open the package, lifting that mask like, he's Cable, and I had no idea prior to that. So it was a nice moment.
That's cool.
He was cloned by Apocalypse.
Oh, he was cloned by Apocalypse.
And Apocalypse wanted to use his body. He was originally going to just use his body.
Oh,
That
right.
makes a lot of sense. I knew there was some connection there.
Strife is potentially, or should be, more powerful than Cable by a lot. Because Strife does not have the transmode virus infection.
True.
Yeah.
So Cable is kind of kept in check by the virus. He's got a balance going on inside of him. Otherwise, he would be way more powerful than he is. Strife has no such limitations.
That's crazy.
It's interesting.
It's crazy to think if Sinister got away with, you know, his whole play, you know, and we got Nathan Summers didn't go into the future, no techno-organic virus or anything. What if Apocalypse got that body early, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what Sinister was trying to do was trying to make him invincible. And, you know, Scott and Jean intervened.
Yeah.
And so the virus took hold, and, well, the rest is history, but that was Sinister's intention. So you're right. What if he did go through with it? He did become invincible. Apocalypse got a hold of that body. And who knows what would happen.
It was kind of demonstrated how badass he could be when he got a hold of the whole Nate Gray thing from Age of Apocalypse. So
Right.
I mean, Nate was pretty badass.
And Nate was very strong.
Yeah.
You know, too strong.
They brought him back a couple times, so we'll have to dive into him sometime because he was a cool character too.
Yes, he was. That whole Age of Apocalypse is it's just so different that it's great. Because the characters don't act like they should.
No,
and I think
it shows what happens
really cool.
it shows what happens when they go through a radically different upbringing because they were all kids. You know what I mean? With kids when Xavier got a hold of them.
Yeah.
So now they're not kids.
Yeah.
Like noticing Lila digging a hole in the pillow, but yeah,
She's going to get in there.
all she's doing anyway. But they were all kids, so now they have a totally different kind of thing. Oh jeez, how she's doing. But different kind of thing. I mean, like Kitty and Colossus, they're not good people in Age of Apocalypse. They're on the good side, but they are not good people. They're training the kids. They're the teachers, and they're training the kids, but they're training them to be like soldiers, like actual hardcore soldiers. And when shit goes sideways and all the kids are going to get wiped out, they dip. They're like, we're out. We're saving ourselves. They did neat things like Kitty would hide. Kitty used claws in Age of Apocalypse. She had claw weapons. It wasn't a native part of her. She just had them strapped on. But she would hide inside Colossus's body. He's fighting things. She phases out, unphases, cuts the hell out of him, phases back into his body. It was kind of a wicked master blaster kind of thing. But they just, the fact that they dipped on the kids was like, ew. It was ugly.
Pretty rough.
Like, and then you had the redemption because Scott went good. Scott was secretly trying to help out the mutants. Alex was the fanatic in that one. When he found out Scott was helping him, he wouldn't come over. He was very indoctrinated to the anti-mutant thing, even though he was one. But yeah, I loved that whole series. That whole line. I thought it was good. I'm glad they kept bringing it back.
Yeah,
kind of revisiting it. So
yeah. One thing about Scott Summers that I kind of like is he seems a little bit like he is the middle ground between, you have Charles Xavier, who's all about the cohabitation between humans and mutants and that whole thing, and then you have Magneto, who's very much an isolationist. It really feels like Cyclops is kind of in the middle, where he really wants the best for mutant kind. He doesn't really care as much about the humans, but like he's there for his people, but he's not actively trying to harm humans either.
Right. I've seen him be impatient with humans, especially superhumans that aren't mutants. Like him and Captain America, they get along okay, but he's got zero tolerance for Captain America being the Boy Scout that's going to come in and tell him what it's going to be. That's how he's like, he'll stand his ground with that.
You guys, like the freaking Avengers, dude. Come on,
we're being oppressed at all times, and you're the world's heroes, and yet you have nothing to do with it. You're not saying, hey, no, stop screwing with the X-Men. You're not standing up against Sentinels and Nimrods and shit like that. Like, so
good old Nimrod.
Yeah. It's kind of cool when I like, because a few of the X-Men have been Avengers. The Beast most notably, Wolverine obviously too. But it puts Beast. I see Beast a lot of times in the comics being kind of like, come on guys, can't we all be friends? So, but I don't know. I think they do the hero versus hero a little bit much in Marvel. I think it's a little overplayed. But I do like there being tensions between them. Yeah, it doesn't always have to devolve into a fight. It doesn't have to turn into the thing. It's comics can be full of action and still have tension. They can be sitting there side by side and disliking each other. Take early Avengers when Hulk and Thor are fighting side by side. Finally, they're finally doing it, and Thor's kind of like, "What do you think?" And the Hulk's just like. Just punches him over. So he doesn't like him. They don't like each other. But it didn't have to be about their fight. It could have this great flavor with just knowing that there's a tension there or a dislike or whatever. I'd like to see that more.
Well, Cyclops and Wolverine example right there. They really don't like each other to a point.
Yeah. Yeah. There's respect, but there's not a lot of love lost.
No.
And then an example of those non-fights is like Rogue and Captain America in '97. Like, she grabs his shield. She's like, "Hey, you aren't helping us." Chucks it off. Now, I will say, since Captain America saw Rogue fly up there, he didn't see where his shield landed, but he saw her throw it. Do you think he has the ability to know where that shield landed just by seeing her throw it? You don't think so?
Not with Rogue's strength.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I don't know.
That could be a couple miles away.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't know, the way he uses his shield, it seems almost supernatural in a way that, like, maybe he does know where it went. I don't know, but just something to think about, you know.
I mean, maybe he's got like a what do you call it? An Apple tag or something, just like
He's
around
got
the
an air
rim.
tag on there.
He's got an air tag on there.
Oh my gosh.
Go find his thing. That'd be hilarious.
Magneto.
Yeah, I've wondered that before. Yeah. Well, I don't think that's a good question. Can Magneto manipulate vibranium?
He should be able to. It's metal.
Well,
because he can manipulate. He can manipulate adamantium,
which is true, and which means that adamantium is ferrous then, because magnetism doesn't affect metal that's not ferrous. Doesn't affect aluminum, for example, right? So it messes me up. That would mean that adamantium is somehow a ferrous metal, or they're just making Magneto's powers beyond magnetism. You know, it's almost like a different kind of thing.
Could Magneto rip off Colossus's armor?
He can manipulate it, because when Colossus was injured in the Marauders, he was cut and rendered. I mean, there was cuts in his metal all over the place, which they knew would kill him if he transformed back into flesh. So Magneto repaired him, but he inadvertently paralyzed him. It hardened the metal, and Colossus was paralyzed for some time. Matter of fact, for a while there, after that happened, Colossus had real difficulty changing back and forth between his shifting. It was really hard for him. It was around the time that Excalibur was coming out and stuff. That was the whole... Kitty was stuck in a phased state. The Marauders really messed him up. That was another great line of comics. The whole original Marauders, fighting the Morlocks and stuff. I told you, that's one of my favorite Colossus bits ever. He just smashes the throat of Riptide, tells Harpoon that he's next. Whew, chills. Like Colossus is pretty docile, man. He
really is. He's like a gentle giant.
Yeah, and he's 7 something.
Yeah,
canonically, he's well over 7 foot tall. So he's massive and lean and agile. That's what makes him even more dangerous.
In the Deadpool movies, they did a good job of showing that. And other times, like even X-Men, from the 90s, he's tall, but he wasn't 7 foot tall. There was times with Scott, especially there was an X-Men animated series with him at the orphanage, and he went back and
they went back and
Kilgrave was there. He was controlling a lot of the mutant kids that were in that foster home, and I guess he'd been doing it for years. Cyclops came back just because I think it was one of the times that Jean died, so he left the X-Men because he couldn't handle it. So I think, Kilgrave was another good character. He only made a short appearance in that show, but it was pretty cool. He was a good character.
So I guess the question with Magneto and vibranium, there's a couple different answers that come up. It's not super consistent, but the gist of it is that he can't control vibranium directly if it's pure vibranium, but if it has any other metals or anything, any impurities mixed into it, then he can.
Yeah,
okay.
And they're saying now that they've retconned him to not being a master of magnetism. Magnetism, that's a smaller scope than what he has. They're saying that he's a metallokinetic. So anything metallic, he has a kinetic, telekinetic ability to deal with. Which I don't know. It can't be to me. Like,
Fine, whatever, Marvel. Do whatever you want.
it's comics, but yeah,
you
like
say so.
sometimes there's solutions. And because you could be anything kinetic now in Marvel.
Yeah.
I could be like Canary kinetic, and I can only control small birds. You know, like it's just ridiculous. Like throwing canaries at people because I'm Canary kinetic. Like, how does that even work? How is that? It's like a specialized telekinesis. So what's the divider? What makes it so that you can't just telekinetically control everything?
It's
You know,
I
like
can
what's
only
the
control
mechanism?
things with hollow bones.
The writer. It's the writers. The writers decide. That makes them a little too powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so you can control. I can hollow bones. I can only do birds and long shot. I can throw long shot everywhere because long shot from the X-Men has hollow bones, so you can throw him everywhere too.
that'd be great. You just see
We talked about
That's
Storm a couple weeks ago, and Storm they kind of had to neutralize her powers a little bit because shit's hitting the fan. Let's just make a typhoon and wipe everybody out. Tornadoes can throw everybody around.
they've increased her powers now. They've gone overboard. I mean, it's insane to think. I was reading a comic where she had 7 or 8 twisters. She's got surrounded by twisters. I'm like, how do you stop that? How do you stop that? Because I mean, she could be throwing splinters at speeds that they could penetrate anything you could be out there. So she turns a tree into a weapon that takes out everybody.
So I just think the writers have to kind of put like a governor on there a little bit. They have to make a good story. And if you have a character that just can wipe everyone out in just a single flick of the fingers, it doesn't make for a good story.
Yeah,
I know.
The power creep, I guess, applies in applies in comics too, right? You have a writer adds a little bit, and so eventually, I guess they do have to kind of do a reset.
And I guess they can.
And like I said, like Wayne said it best. He said, and the story is what makes it good. Yeah, that's what allows us to overlook the nonsense that the occasional author gets a hold of. Because I feel like some of these people that write for these, they're not even comic book fans. They're like, here's these characters. Here's basically what you could do. Go read 5 Marvel comics, 5, just no more than 5, and then write your version of them. I'm like, because it
doesn't work that way.
Sometimes it doesn't work that way.
To a point, the original X-Men comic or cartoon was written by soap. I think it was either produced or something by soap opera producers and whatnot. So there's there's why there's so much drama in the cartoons too. So it's kind of makes sense for the characters. So
but because like I said, as long as the story's good.
It also gives us content to talk about too. I mean, we have to look up to see can Magneto control Captain America's shield? Can he throw it? Or why can Cyclops actually shoot off Wolverine's hand? It gives us content to talk about, give us like a little mystery.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I love that a lot of times the fans figure out a better explanation than the writers did.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and I think they bank on that too.
What's that?
I think they bank on that too. I think the writers deliberately maybe don't answer all the questions, so everyone can have their own little opinion and try to figure stuff out on their own.
That's
possible. I hope so. That
or
might
you might be being
credit,
insanely generous. They're like, oh man, we don't have time to look up the this fact about a random thing. Hey, you know what? Yeah, Cyclops' glasses, they reach into a punch dimension. That's the thing.
yeah, like that. Like a punch dimension. Like you can make a dimension for anything.
Did you?
Yeah. There's a dimension that's pure liquid adamantium. So now you got a guy that can just, if he takes off a fingernail, that fingernail bed leaks from the adamantium dimension, so he can just make weapons. Draws it out. It hardens in our realm. Now you have an adamantium sword whenever you want. I mean, like it's It becomes.
Don't give them ideas now.
time, man.
Yeah, dude, you're gonna have to start charging Marvel for these.
Exactly.
My God,
If that happens in an issue coming up, they're listening.
adamantium Lico, just.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
No.
I don't know. It cracks me up. Like I have my weapons made by manicure. That's what the guy calls himself.
Manicure. Adamanticure.
Adamanticure. Yes.
Oh, that's such a good name. Marvel.
You heard it here first on the Nerd Powwow.
We'll take our shout out on your official website. That's all.
Exactly.
That's all we want.
Put a hashtag.
Pay an exposure. You can use the character, all rights. Yeah.
That's right. The manicure.
Adamanticure.
Adamanticure.
That's so good. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. That's gonna get me. It's just I don't know. I just wish that they wouldn't get quite that campy sometimes because there's things to do where you don't have to do it. It's just some writers. Some writers just don't seem to have any basis in. They're like, oh, it's comics. We can do whatever the hell we want, which is true. But it doesn't mean you should do everything that you want.
You can do everything you want, but should you? Well,
right.
Oh man.
That's a good example though. Like, there are times that I'm completely wrong about that. Like, I thought that the Danger Room being sentient and becoming a character, I kind of thought that was kind of like, oh, okay, now this, but that was really cool done. I mean, it was really well done. The author, the writer of that, I'm really bad at knowing the writers. I feel like I should be giving them some kind of credit. And then this way I can bash the bad ones too. But
yeah. Both ways.
But it was really well done because she wasn't just trapped. She was being forced to act outside of her core programming. So she felt like she was being made to do something that she was not created to do the whole time. Because she was designed to kill. She's a weapon. She was an AI weapon. And the whole time she had to be non-lethal. So like, hey, so she's just kind of like governed, or like a governor, like a car engine governor. She's just they just retarded her, you know what I mean? They had to bring that kind of down, and it's just it's kind of neat how they wrote that out. It was a good series. I just read that. I remembered that scene of Cyclops "get off my lawn" kind of thing, and I wanted to remember what that was, so I reread that whole line
Get off
there.
my lawn.
I mean, I love Wolverine being like, and now I remember why they put you in charge. Because he's literally just punched it through. So, but yeah, I have a friend, Jeff JP. Cyclops is it's his guy. I mean, he lives, eats, and breathes Cyclops. So I feel like that I have to make sure that I tell JP about this this podcast here and mention that how much he loves it. I won't throw his whole name out there. I think that's probably a bad idea, but he loves it. So I hope he enjoys that we did a little Cyclops action.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
So yeah, we've got to give Cyclops some love because
great.
Even the X-Men animated series, they kind of made him and it went, but not too much. But really, the movies is really where he was like, background character,
a wallflower, yeah,
and then they killed him off early in the third one. Like, wait a minute, come on.
I know.
You mean the X-Men movies, aka Wolverine and Friends?
Yeah, Wolverine and Friends.
Yep.
And James Marsden did a good Cyclops. They just didn't use him very much. I thought he was a good one.
To be back.
Yes, I hope they give him they do him better.
Yeah, because I personally find the X-Men movies an atrocity. They just weren't good. They had some good casting. In moments, there were moments in there because it's the X-Men and it's kind of cool. But as a whole, I could take it or leave them or never see one again and I'd be all right. Rewatch them and I'd be all right.
No, you
It's a shame.
spoke about Wolverine and Friends. Now, Wolverine and the X-Men. I don't know if you ever watched that series. There's one season, and they left off with Apocalypse coming for season 2. I went right on there to watch season 2. Doesn't exist. They never did it,
Awful stuff.
and it broke my heart.
I heard that Wolverine and Friends are. I heard that show is actually really good.
It was because I watched the first half of the first episode about 5 times before I actually gave it a chance, and then I dove right into it. It was really good.
Did you see? I'm trying to remember if it was it Wolverine that had the anime? There was an anime cartoon with Wolverine in it.
It was it was Wolverine. Because there was X-Men Evolution, but
no,
and then Wolverine and the X-Men.
I think it's from the Madhouse universe. Trying to remember what it was from here.
Did you guys watch the pilot episode of Pride of the X-Men? It came out in the 80s, I believe. It was one episode, and I thought it was pretty good. I wish they would have continued it.
Okay, so the Madhouse universe is. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Wayne. I didn't mean to cut you out there.
Well, I was just saying, as far as the Wolverine anime, I'm not sure because I thought I've watched everything. To be honest,
so there were 4 of them: Marvel anime Wolverine, anime Iron Man, anime X-Men, and anime Blade. And Cyclops appeared in 2 of them, in the X-Men and Wolverine, and he was really cool in those 2. They really did him well.
Yeah, I think
those are worth watching.
Is that the one that has the episode with Armor and Scott fighting or something like that?
It's so long since I've seen them.
There's a real badass scene that was like anime graphics that I saw on YouTube. I'm looking at it now. There's a TV miniseries in 2011 that was the X-Men. That's an anime, and it looks pretty badass. Actually, I think I'm gonna go back and watch that.
Just look up Madhouse Universe for Marvel Madhouse Universe, and now you'll see all 4 series to watch. Wolverine appears in all 4 of the series. He's the only character to go, but
I can't believe I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, it was good. It was complete. It was cool. It was
I feel like I missed out.
Yeah, it was really good. Madhouse Studios is all anime. They did a really good job with it.
Yep,
Earth
that's the same
101001 in the Earth's database.
Huh.
But yeah, it was good.
Oh man, Madhouse is a powerhouse too with anime, so I have to watch that. They did Death Note, they did One Punch Man, which those are 2 like really high esteemed ones. They did the original Trigun, which I'm a huge fan of. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go through and watch all this. They did Parasite, which is another really cool anime. Yeah, Madhouse definitely has some good stuff that they've done.
Yeah, they did. They did 2 other Marvels too. They had the Black Widow and the Punisher, which was kind of a unique one. And then they did another Iron Man, Rise of the Technovore. They're all good. Those ones were like 2013, looks like. But yeah, there's all kinds of good ones in the Madhouse realm there. Actually, those ones may not have been Madhouse. Those 2 I just said. Those might have.
Yeah, how about it?
But the Madhouse ones for sure. Yeah. Yeah, they're great. I like. Wait till you see Cyclops. Though, they was really, really cool drawn in that series. I really liked the way they did Cyclops in that show. He just, with his visor and everything, he just looked cool. But yeah, it was a very cool example of.
That's cool.
Of Cyclops. I'm glad they got away from the costume he had during the Arakoa time too. The one where he had kind of the X.
Yeah,
he kind of had the X in his face. He looked kind of like Xavier. I kept getting every time at a glance because Xavier was wearing that the Cerebro around, and I was just like, wait, is that Wolverine or X or Cyclops or Professor X?
Who are you? What are you doing? I guess my favorite Sky Summers uniform was from the 90s X-Men. I know in X-Men 97 they all changed to their old outfits near the end of the series, and which is fine. I like that one too, but no, the one from the early 90s, that was my favorite.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah, the one where he's got this emblem here and it crosses over. It's kind of asymmetrical. Yeah, that is a fantastic costume.
That's a good one.
Yep. Yeah.
Unless you want to talk about the black leather from the X-Men movies.
Oh, why would we talk about that?
Hey, it's Cyclops.
Would you rather see me in black leather?
Yeah, would you rather black leather? What, yellow spandex?
Yeah. Oh, I love that little.
Yes, we did want you to see him in yellow spandex.
It turns out.
It turns out, yes.
I didn't mind his X Factor uniform because I liked how the team looked. It was kind of cool that they all had that minus Beast or Iceman, but they had the X and they were like colored. Each one was Angel had the red and white, Scott had his yellow and blue, and then Jean had her green and yellow. So I even Bobby had a pale blue with a white X on it when he wasn't in ice form. You could see it, so it was kind of cool. I really liked those costumes.
Yeah,
they looked like a team.
Mm-hmm.
But the 90s Cyclops is absolutely the one. I could do without I always hate the panties on the outside thing.
The yellow panties on the outside.
Yeah, it's the Superman thing. The whole just tidy whiteys or tidy reddies or tidy yellows or whatever on the outside is just stupid looking to me. So I would have just given him a belt and then that cross harness, that whatever thing he has, but and then then there was the jacket phase.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody in Marvel had their uniform and they just wore a jacket over it. I don't know.
It got really cold on that Earth.
And it was Wolverine in the X-Men that he had the jacket the whole time.
Yeah.
Or the long trench coat. It was the long trench coat. Yeah.
Yeah, the trench coat. Yeah. X Factor does it now. Even now, they've got all this uniform, and then like Jamie Madrox has this long leather trench coat. I'm like, was Gambit just everybody raided his closet? Everybody's like, hey, let's.
Hey, Gambit looks good in that.
Gambit's over here making beignets, and everybody's raiding his wardrobe.
Yeah, appropriating the poor guy. But it fits his shtick though. That's his thing. He's a leather trench coat kind of guy. I don't know if everybody should be wearing one.
Right.
I don't know. Just doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, there's some crazy costumes out there though.
Yeah, one of the
Colossus always had basically a bikini on with. He almost was wearing what's the name of the guy from from Kazakhstan, the comedian?
Oh, Borat.
Remember Borat in that yellow?
Oh, yeah.
One piece. That's basically Colossus's costume for a lot. When he has the split up the middle that goes on the sides.
Yeah,
it's basically the same thing. It's just a little wider up here.
Man, I could do a deep dive on Sacha Baron Cohen's career and some of the stuff he's been in. He had this character Ali G, who's a gangster guy. Oh man, he has so many fun characters.
He does. He does.
To me, my X-Men.
Absolutely.
To me, my X-Men.
Or give him the forecast. He had a couple just short little good lines in that show.
Yep. Not.
Yeah. Oh, don't take my visor.
Oh man, sucked me right back to the 90s hearing somebody say not.
Or
even after Magneto got exonerated and came back, and he's handing him Magneto a cup of coffee. Poison, dark roast.
Yep.
So yeah, they did a good job of writing with him.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan. He's up there in my. I probably the X-Men. I think it's safe to say the X-Men are my favorite team in the Marvel comics.
Such a good
That's why I think
dynamic
that's why
team.
I don't like that they. Yeah, that's why I think I don't like that they butchered the movie so bad. Like that Phoenix movie, what an atrocity.
Yeah.
And like I said, what a great casting. What a great casting. I think she was a great casting for Jean Grey.
Sure.
You know,
Easily, yeah.
and yeah, and just butchered it. Butchered it. Because I don't like why cheapen it? Why make it the I mean, I like that they're just showing how much of an ass Xavier is by truncating, like keeping her powers down or whatever, not just teaching how to control them, but the but that just takes away the whole Phoenix. It takes away the whole option. I mean, that's a way to involve them directly with Guardians of the Galaxy, with the Shi'ar. It takes it intergalactic. There's so many pathways there to take. Instead it's like, no, she's just always been that powerful, and we just held back her power. Like, whatever.
Yeah, because they nerfed a lot of the characters. Even when they redid the Dark Phoenix, I think they missed on that one too, with Sophie Turner.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I thought you meant with Fran.
No, I think Sophie Turner was a better casting. I like Sophie's. I didn't mind what's her name, but I do like that actress. But
yeah, I thought she was a good one.
I just felt like she was aged weird. Like her age didn't match with the other actors in that show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I just felt that way. Like I felt like she was like older than they were for some reason, and I don't even know if she actually is. I just felt like the character was. It just I didn't much care for the casting as much as I liked the actress.
Yeah, because with X-Men Last Stand, I thought it was why kill off Cyclops in the beginning? Cyclops could have been a very big part of that whole movie and made it that much better because of the love story between the two. But yeah, they killed off Cyclops right in the beginning. Like, why? Come on.
Poor Psych. Yeah.
They
never
missed
played him up as the leader. I mean, they tried. They touched base on it a little bit, but he's never the leader in those movies. And I'm like, that's the whole trope, people. Stop trying to make it the Wolverine show. I love Wolverine. Wolverine's great, but he doesn't need played up more than he is.
Yeah.
He's enough. He's already enough. He's already great. You don't have to make him everything.
And that's what they tried in X-Men 97. They tried to do a little less Wolverine, and I think that was perfect idea.
I think
because Wolverine still had his moments, but he wasn't like a focal point like in the other shows.
Well, it's the same thing with take it like with Star Trek you were talking about with Voyager. Star Trek's at its best when an episode might be about a character, but it's about a whole team. Nobody's carrying any more than the other ones do, and that's where Voyager kind of failed, focusing so much on Michael because it was just the Michael story, and you didn't get to know the other characters as much. And there were so many cool characters to be had there. So I like that idea of having a team where you're bouncing around on the people of the team. It's unique, it's atypical, but it's some of the best it works in every genre. That's why Friends worked. That's why The Office worked. You have this cast of characters. I mean, The Office may have had a little more focal point on Jim and Pam than the others, but you still had a lot of the others. You still had episodes based on other people. And Friends was same kind of thing. So it works on every genre. Yeah, is to have this cast of characters instead of that one person you're just coming back and seeing and beating it into a wall.
Well, to be fair, they had to get away to get women to also watch the movie because comics weren't as popular, And hey, you got a huge jacked man, and that's a good draw.
But I mean. You're not wrong, but it isn't like half the X-Men team aren't drawn
that's true.
Like Adonis, Paragon, Hyperion type builds. You know what I mean? Like Scott Summers in the comics is no slack. Warren Worthington, he's literally an angel. He's supposed to be stunningly beautiful. You could really. There's another character they butchered. How are you gonna take and just butcher Angel?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, what they did in
How
Apocalypse, that wasn't right. I understand the idea behind that, but they could have gone closer to the comics. Maybe they didn't want to do exactly comics, but the way they did it, where he just was going out, making him more powerful, and turned him into Archangel. I was like, no, that's not how it happened.
Yeah.
Every one of those movies could have had nothing to do with a single comic, and I could have liked them if the story was worth a shit. But the stories in those just weren't worth a shit. They didn't have. I'm not upset because they weren't comic driven. You can be a different universe with the same kind of characters and have different flair and different stories. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't want to see the same old thing constantly. I don't want to watch Batman lose his parents for the 500th time. Or, or Spider-Man lose Uncle Ben for the 500th time. I don't need that. So I don't mind that, but it's just like when you're making these characters wildly different, like you don't even recognize them as who they are. Even their power set is not necessarily right. I'm like, so they have the same first name? That's what we're doing now?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, what was it, the Teen Wolf series. Now, I enjoyed the Teen Wolf series, the MTV show. I really did. I thought it was very Buffy the Vampire Slayer-esque, had that same kind of vibe. But they should have not called it Teen Wolf. It had literally nothing to do with the Teen Wolf series. But I mean, they had Styles. They had a character they named Styles, and it was Scott. And so they named the characters a couple of the names, and massive, nothing to do with it.
That's
it was a totally different thing.
That's almost like that Generation X show from the 90s too. Like, boy, that was oh man. I was so upset that I wasn't allowed to watch that as a kid. Oh man, I can still remember being upset about that.
Yeah,
but I know we've said a lot negative about the X-Men movies, but one thing is I remember as a kid growing up thinking about all these comic book heroes and all these cartoons and stuff, and I always I love the idea of having it in live action, and like Blade, was awesome, but like it didn't feel like a Marvel movie to me as a kid, and I wasn't really as familiar with the character beyond seeing him in the Spider-Man cartoons every now and again. And even then, I don't think I fully made that connection that movie was as related, was as Marvel related as it was. Like it just didn't feel as much. And I think you had like a Punisher thing. You had some of those older like campier shows.
Punishers were horrific.
Yeah, and so like when the X-Men movie first came out, I was just so excited to see these characters that I grew up with being portrayed on screen that, man, I gave it so many, okay, whatever, that's fine. I get to see the character. I'm happy. Like, I don't care what garbage you throw at me. Whatever you give me, I'm going to fucking love it. I'm going to eat that shit up. And I did too. Yep. And, going back and kind of giving it a more cynical lens, like I definitely see, all that I can see that for sure. And especially like, you had a lot of experience with the comics, but man, I'll tell you what, the movie's coming. I was so pumped for those.
Because if you remember, they were talking about that for about 3 or 4 years before they actually came out. So I remember having talks with my dad about who could play Bishop, who could play Wolverine, who could play Cyclops. I don't remember anymore, but we actually listed these actors we'd like to see if they ever made an X-Men movie.
Yeah.
And sure enough, and I remember not liking Hugh Jackman at first, only because he was 6'2". Wolverine is 5'3". Come on.
I think I remember talking to you about, like, we were talking about, like,
I was like,
are you kidding me?
He's too tall. He's too tall. What's going on here? But Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman did a great job. But
He did.
I remember there being a big push for a while. They were trying to get Mel Gibson to play Wolverine. I remember that being a huge thing back in the day. Because he was coming off of, like the Lethal Weapons and all of that. So I remember that being a huge push. I don't know that I necessarily liked it, but I just remember that being a huge thing.
I want to see the Danny DeVito Wolverine. That's what
Oh,
I
I
want to
remember them
see.
talking about that too. I remember that. Like, what? Are you insane?
So, anyways,
sorry,
I just
Danny
started
DeVito.
slashing.
Danny DeVito cannot be anything but the Penguin to me. It's just what he
Oh,
is.
such
He was the
Penguin.
perfect
Ugh.
penguin. Perfect penguin.
Ugh.
Oswald
nasty.
Cobblepot.
So, do you guys know who Brandon Skellner is? He's one of the main
No.
characters in 1923. It's one of the Yellowstone prequels. That guy, I would love to see play Cyclops. I think he's got it down to. There has been rumors of him being cast as Nova, with Richard Rider Nova, which personally I like Brandon Skellner a lot. I think he's got a cool vibe about him. But him as Richard Rider, I'd be super happy about. But Richard Rider tends to be a little lighthearted at first in his early comics. Now he's a little darker. He's a little heavy. He's been through some more. He's got a little bit more weight on his shoulders. But depends on what they do with him. But I think it'd be a perfect Cyclops. He gives that vibe. Like it's funny because the guy. I don't think before 1923 that the guy really had much of a badass kind of vibe to him. But in 1923, he's kind of quiet. He's got to do what he's got to do, and I don't know. It read Cyclops to me, especially in that series, the way he acted. Like you could make that character, name that character Scott Summers to me, and it would be all right. So, the great series.
If Anthony Starr wasn't so known as Homelander, I think he would knock it out of the park as Scott Summers.
I think so too. Yeah,
because
I think he would be good.
I think for a Cyclops, the facial structure, like it's got to be like a slimmer guy. But aside from that, like it doesn't matter that much because so much of his face is covered up with that visor. Yeah. So the eyes really don't matter. Like the bridge of the nose. There's a lot of physicality that you can kind of lose a little bit as long as you get the character right. And I think that's one thing to your credit with the X-Men movies, like they didn't get the mannerism right. So of course, like the character's just not good, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and Anthony Starr in the Banshee era, when he was
exactly
that he'd have been great Cyclops.
Well, yes.
Now I've seen him in too many roles where I just want his character to die a horrible, horrible death.
Yeah, you're right.
So
you're right.
I can't look past it. I can't even in Banshee he was kind of a bastard, but you still kind of rooted for him. He was kind of an anti-hero kind of thing, which I could get behind, but.
And I could see him playing that version of Cyclops too. It's like kind of the badder version of Cyclops, you know?
Yeah.
But God, I can't even look at Anthony Starr without having like viral feelings. The guy, I mean, he's a great actor because he's pulling that off so well. But Homelander. Oh, I hate that character so much.
Oh man, it gives you so much tension when he gets on the screen. It's like, when's it gonna happen?
It is.
When's the thing gonna happen?
I mean, which when I say I hate him, I don't mean I hate it. It isn't a dislike. It is a dislike, but it's like it's the right kind of hate.
Yeah, it's a natural dislike because the actor's just so damn good at being dislikable.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just here to watch him die a horrible death. That's all I want.
It's almost like Negan from The Walking Dead, man.
Perfect example.
That guy, but you know, he's still like
redeeming that character. Redeeming that character just sits so bad with me.
Oh,
and he's
teamed up with her now.
Yeah,
what's her name?
In Dead City, with Maggie. Yep.
And that's the thing. He's played in other stuff, and it's just like, and he talks the same as Negan, because obviously that's what he is
in other things.
Yeah,
because he was great as Old Man Winchester in Supernatural. I loved him in Supernatural. He's great. He even played in.
There was another
Grey's Anatomy. He had a line in there. He was a patient for a while. I like the guy. I don't know. He's got good stuff.
Yeah.
Is it good at? It shows these actors are really good when you hate their character. I think it's easy to like somebody. It's easy to like their character, but if you hate the character, I think that makes them better actors than not. Like Anthony Starr. or the name escapes me. The guy that plays Negan.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays that perfectly. They want us to hate him, and we do.
We do. We absolutely do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's. That's another character. Like, can't believe I didn't get the satisfaction of that man dying a horrible. He's actually in The Boys too now.
Yes, he is.
He's playing like a vision apparition that what's his face sees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but which he plays Negan basically too.
Yeah, he sure does.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, any more Cyclops topics, guys? Or I think we've
probably talked about him enough, but you could go.
Yeah.
Cyclops been around for so long, you could really go into him forever.
Yeah. So. We've seen him as a wuss. We've seen him as a hero. We've seen him as a boss. We've seen him as a villain. I mean, he's everything.
I will say the one other thing I will say is I loved how the time displaced X-Men. It was the young Cyclops was the one like most disgusted with who he had become in the 616. He's like, oh, like just like why would I become that? Because young Scott was great. Like I said, he was occasionally that like mopey a little bit, but he was still always the guy doing what needed to be done. And
yeah,
I don't know, I liked it. So I do like it. But
all right,
yeah,
nerds.
I mean, I think we did a good job with him.
Yeah. Well, hey, nerds, we will catch y'all later. Make sure to follow and subscribe on YouTube, and we will catch y'all later.
See you later, guys.
See ya.
Well, step aside and watch how my adoring fans flock to me.